Today I want to talk about a movie that was a blind buy for me. Never heard of it before, never heard anybody talk about it before until recently when it was released to Blu-ray and I read an online Blu-ray review of the movie. And the film is 1982's My Favorite Year. Never heard of the movie before. It stars Peter O'Toole, who is famously known for playing T.E. Lawrence in Lawrence of Arabia. But other than that, there's no real major stars in it. It's directed by Richard Benjamin, who is known, or was at that time known for being an actor primarily. He transitioned into film, and this was his first movie. It's kind of crazy. I mean, this is a good movie. I'm going to recommend it, but I'm just surprised that this is the director's first feature film. What an accomplishment. I'm sure he's very proud of his work in this. So you probably never heard of the film, just like I never had. The basic story, apparently, it all came from a pitch from Mel Brooks, who people know. It's based on his experience, supposedly working on the program called Your Show of Shows, which he was a writer on. And it's based on his experience during, an episode or a skit there where Errol Flynn, the actor, was coming in, and of course, he was a nightmare to work with, apparently, kind of like an alcoholic, kind of like tardy and late to things like sketches and rehearsals. And so the pitch was based off of Mel Brooks' experience being kind of like the babysitter for Errol Flynn on Your Show of Shows. And that's basically the plot here in this movie. The show is named differently, and Peter O'Toole plays an actor named Alan Swan, who is kind of our Errol Flynn type character. And then there's a writer on the show named Benji, whose job it is to watch Alan Swan and make sure that he shows up to rehearsal, that he doesn't get too trashed from partying like, the night before and the night after the show's actually going to go live. And so it's all about the antics of, what this actor's doing, how kind of crazy and unpredictable his behavior is. And this guy, Benji, just has to keep him intact, has to keep him sober as much as possible so that he can make it to the show and make it to rehearsals. There's a lot of interesting characters that populate this film, and there's a whole culture around, this type of sketch writing show that I'm sure someone who's involved, in something modern day like Saturday Night Live would really understand and relate to. And that's where a lot of the comedy is derived from. This is a comedy, and it's a comedy about a comedy sketch show. So while there's all sorts of interesting characters, things really come alive when Peter O'Toole is on screen. I mean, he is the main focus of this movie. His character, Alan Swan, is just this kind of washed up actor. He used to be like really big, let's say, 2 or 3 decades before the time he's in now. The movie takes place in 1954, I believe. And he's just really that stereotypical actor that's, kind of washed up, past his prime, has alcohol issues, is a philanderer and womanizer. But as we go along, we learn a little bit more about him. We know that, he did have a relationship that brought a daughter into his life. And there's a strain there with this father-daughter relationship that becomes a bit of the heart of this story. We also just recognize a lot of elements of stardom and of celebrity that become exposed. And you start to sympathize with this character because you really see how he's treated, totally differently, obviously, but to the point that he really can't make substantial relationships, and the people that he should be having, relationships with, like his daughter, suffer as well. There's some other storylines going on in parallel to these. I don't find them as interesting. There's kind of this love story going on between Benji, the guy who's watching Alan, and this woman who works on the sketch show with him. And, it's cute, it's whatever, but it's, it's kind of just on the side. There's also the kind of head showrunner guy or the head personality. He's kind of like a Sid Caesar type character. And there's a whole conflict here where in one of his sketches he's been playing like this mob boss, and the boss is telling him to stop or things are going to happen. And of course there's a contention there, and the guy doesn't want to stop doing the sketches and he thinks it's all just a bluff. So there's kind of like these other storylines going on, but again, the core of this movie is Peter O'Toole's character and Benji, the guy who's watching his character. But the performance here by Peter O'Toole is really interesting. I think a lot of it could have been drawn from his own personal life, probably. And again, he's kind of reflecting the character that the actor, the real life actor, Errol Flynn, apparently his behavior on that program, Your Show of Shows, that Mel Brooks was a part of. It's very entertaining watching O'Toole in this comedic role. There's a lot of physical stunts involved that apparently he wanted to do on his own. So you get to see him kind of like flip over on a desk and jump on a horse like from the back, like some crazy stuff that I wouldn't realize was actually him, but if you listen to the director commentary, he makes it clear that O'Toole wanted to do most of those stunts on his own. And he does get to be a dramatic actor towards the end. There's a really emotional part where he's just really emotionally distraught, both over his acting status and again that kind of core part of the story dealing with him and his daughter. So you do get to see Peter O'Toole deliver the goods in the drama department. Very moving scene and performance from him later in the film. So all in all, I actually enjoyed this film quite a bit. It's funny, it's got a sweet charm to it, and a great performance from Peter O'Toole. So if you're interested in checking out this lesser known kind of offbeat 80s comedy, you can't watch it anywhere for free on any streaming service, but you can rent it for $3 right now on Amazon Prime. Or of course you can buy the Blu-ray like I did. Either way, I recommend you check out this movie and I hope you enjoy it.